Cracking the Code 3rd edition, Foreword. This manual is about a code, as well as being a system or collection of rules and regulations. A code is also defined as a system used for secrecy of communication, in which arbitrarily chosen words, letters, or symbols are assigned definite meanings. Laws today are called codes: vehicle codes, internal revenue code, uniform code of military justice, penal code, etc., because they have been encoded from their original form. For the man on the street, accessing and utilizing these codes generally require the services of a specially trained decoder called an attorney. 100 years ago, the average man knew the law and was equipped with knowledge for conducting himself and his affairs and avoiding unwanted legal situations, thereby protecting himself, his family, and his property from legal opportunists. This is no longer the case. The law is no longer just law, but a cornucopia of code, requiring cavernous libraries with miles of shelving just for housing its billions of pages of print. Library of Congress has over 3 million different law books on file, approximately 80 linear shelf miles of law books. The Uniform Commercial Code, that is the UCC, the subject of this manual, is the transcendent paramount achievement of the efforts of a few thousands of intensely dedicated and single-minded collaborators, dare we call it conspiracy, over the last 2+ millennia. It is the culmination of an almost incomprehensibly complex, systematic, intricate, pervasive, and far-reaching agenda of strategic and tactical global planning for securing absolute legal, financial, social, ecclesiastical, and political dominance over the people of Earth. The fundamental medium chosen to accomplish these iniquitous aims: commerce. The UCC, first introduced in 1954, has been developed across centuries with microscopically excruciating and painstaking attention to detail for avoiding forever risk of detection and revelation of its true nature. It was fully expected that the code would never be cracked. Proof of this fact is the absence of any device mechanism for the enforced reversal of the process and recapture of slaves who managed to break free. Incredibly, the development of the UCC has been so brilliantly orchestrated by the legal masters of the world that even though it permeates and dominates the everyday lives and activities of every man, woman, and child in America from conception to casket, as well as virtually every other living soul on the planet, and even though it is the most senior form of codified law throughout the world, encompassing all others, see UCC 1-103. The UCC is a cultural obscurity, blending in with societal scenery so well that it does not even raise an eyebrow upon mention. Even general members of the bar, that is, the lawyers, attorneys, solicitors, advocates, and barristers, the foot soldiers, snipers, and assassins of the banker generals that wage war on the world, are for the most part ignorant of its far-reaching applications and implications, which dominate even their lives as well. Likely you never even heard of the Uniform Commercial Code until it was brought to your attention by someone with the express purpose of revealing its influence over your life. As an interesting side note, 2 years ago, the authors of this manual were contacted by a forward-thinking attorney on behalf of the other attorneys in his law firm to purchase the first edition as soon as it became available. Apparently, they had gotten the word from a trusted friend that the manual was being written and what it dealt with. The attorney also allowed that he and his partners knew that the con was going down right before their eyes every day in the legal system, and even though the witnessing the daily administration of the shakedown, they just couldn't figure out how exactly it was being done. The law firm has long since acquired a copy of the first manual, but likely none of the attorneys availed themselves of the process. You see, an attorney occupies a special place in the grand scheme of things, because an attorney's connection with the crown, the source of the attorney's British title of nobility, Esquire, all judges are esquires as well, via his or her misnamed license to practice, and because only an attorney can represent the banks and corporations, that is, artificial persons, that are owned or controlled by the owner/creditors of almost every single government on earth. Attorneys cannot personally access this process. Attorneys are hired guns, mercenaries of the hate merchants and warmongers that operate the legal juggernaut that is intent on devouring the last shreds of personal wealth and freedom of the common folk of the world. Every whore has her price, and this type is no exception. Judges and attorneys, that is, esquires, have literally sold their soul to the devil for the inside track and a few easy bucks. Accordingly, since they are owned, they can never access sovereignty. Just like the whore, they have no personal freedom until the customer is satisfied that he got what he paid for. For esquires, it's a lifetime affair, with the crown and the powers behind it. Accessing sovereignty requires that an esquire renounce his or her so-called license to practice and his or her relationship with the privately owned judicial system and cease practicing as an esquire altogether, a cure more unpleasant than bearing the disease for most such whores. Nearly all will carry on, a few may break away. Esquires also fatuously believe they are immune against attacks from the little people, as you will learn from the Tin Man, example TIN, Taxpayer Identification Number Man, in the Wizard of Oz. See Wizard of Oz, the glossary. And as you discover in the practical portion of this manual, the laws of commerce are heartless and apply equally with all, including attorneys and judges, for a comprehensive expose of the skeletons in the Esquire's closet. See Section 2, The Truth About Esquires. A judge/attorney who attempts using your private copyrighted trade name for financial gain without first obtaining your express written authorization and consent faces the same legal/commercial consequences that as anyone else, cataclysmic personal financial ruin, because in commerce all are equal under the law. Judges, though also esquires, are a different creature than attorneys and receive special training in Reno, Nevada, National Judicial College, 3,500 judges trained each year, and Scottsdale, Arizona, sometimes hundreds of hours over their careers for learning better ways of applying the Uniform Commercial Code in the courtroom and handling dissidents and unruly slaves who set a bad example for their other paying customers. This is the genius of the legal masters of the world. The populace and even many of the bar attorneys themselves believe that the law being practiced in the courts is the law. For example, the only law being administered in the courtroom, whereas it is actually only a carefully orchestrated shadow of the real thing, an exhibition in histrionics par excellence. I don't know what that means. The Uniform Commercial Code is not particularly, The Uniform Commercial Code is not particularly concerned with the Social Security account numbers, and including such is an option on the filing forms. The Uniform Commercial Code Filing Office, located in each state and elsewhere, provides public notice of private matters and is concerned primarily with identifying those registered within by name only, just like it was 100 years ago before the Federal Reserve Act and Social Security Act, when a man's name, honor, and reputation were his most valuable personal possessions and upon which his entire future depended in no small part. As you will discover, the Social Security account number is a public number associated with a public persona, a person, a legal entity different from yourself and artificial as well. That is to say, existing in contemplation of by force of law alone. This is your alter ego. Your alter ego. All capital letters trade name. Your strawman. Strawman, see glossary, is a legal term for a frontman, a nominal party in a transaction existing in name only, through which the owner can accomplish some purpose not otherwise permitted. A strawman serves its owner/master with slavish devotion, but you did not even know that you had one. He has been running around obligating you and entering into all kinds of unconscionable contracts and causing you much grief, heartache, and economic misery. It is time you get to know this fellow and set things straight. This manual will show you how to discover your straw man and bring him under your control instead of theirs. Most people understand that the law is very precise, with legalized deadly violence associated with the words appearing in the text of the codes that are enforced by the courts and police alike. The English language and its accepted rules of grammar are likewise precise. However, there are no accommodations for writing proper nouns in all capital letters. The all capital letters written name, as appeared on your Social Security card, driver's license, passport, bank statement, credit cards, etc., and which is rigidly insisted upon and enforced by the legal system, is not there by mistake, but it is not your true name, which consists of the given Christian name plus the surname, that is the family name, and appears with only initial capital letters. The all caps version is your trade name, the name under which you do business, and is written in another language entirely. This is called legalese. All names, including true names, constitute property and can be copyrighted under the common law. Strangely enough, the source of all money in circulation today is your and others' trade name and your signed promise to pay in exchange for loans of credit issued in that name. Banks are accounting and bookkeeping operations with only enough cash on hand to keep customers satisfied, and covertly use your trade name and your promise to pay to create money and generate profit. The long-term intention of the money power is to abolish cash completely and leave people with trackable electronic funds only. Because all names are no more than property, no name is his trade name, or no one is his trade name, nor is anyone his true name. The primary reason we are faced with the current dismal state of affairs is people's misunderstanding of the nature of their name. Whereas the sovereign uses a name only for purposes of recognizing that someone else desires communication with him or her, nearly all other people have lost sight of their own sovereign character via confusion about the name. Your true name more closely approximate who you are, but is not corporate, like the trade name. Your true name more closely approximates who you are, but is not corporate, like the trade name. The legal masters of the world have capitalized on this simple distinction between true name and trade name to ensure your continued subjugation. The primary pitfall is that an all capital letters trade name sounds exactly like a true name when spoken. See item sonens. So that's like sounding items. This phenomena has no particular significance in our society except in a courtroom, and a courtroom can be a dangerous place to be. Thankfully, this manual can help you stay out of the courtrooms, but not everyone is so fortunate. Simple observations tell us that the primary function of today's private, foreign-owned, and operated court system is the transfer of personal wealth and freedom into the hands of the courts, banks, governments, corporations, and tax agency. The judge is calling out a name in one language, legalese. He is reading from the legal documents in front of him, and the customer is innocently listening and answering in another, English. So the judge is speaking legalese and you're speaking English. This otherwise harmless overlap of language is then immediately forcefully and unmercifully applied to the victim's profound detriment. Such deception is now indispensable in maintaining the current level of commercial profit levels of the courts. That is to say, visit any traffic court for an hour and keep a tally of the proceeds. By following the procedures outlined in this manual, unwanted victimization at the hands of judicial legal system can be minimized and even avoided, bypassed altogether. The Uniform Commercial Code provides for filing offices in each state and elsewhere so that a creditor may give formal public notice of a legal relationship between himself and a debtor. It allows for the creditor, called the secured party, to perfect, legally establish, a security interest, a private lien, essentially, above all others, including government, in the property of the debtor. So your all caps trade name is the debtor, and you are the creditor or secured party, thereby ensuring repayment or specific performance by the debtor and officially precluding any third party from impairing the private contract. As shown herein, your strawman trade name is the debtor and you the secured party. Yep. Your exact relationship with each other is more precisely defined in a private agreement. A description of the property pledged by the debtor as collateral for securing the obligation is contained in a security agreement. Significant additions in the third edition are the copyright notice, to be published under legal notices in the newspaper, and the new security agreement, which has been broken up into 3 separate interrelated documents in strict accordance with the revised Article 9 dictates and the remaining articles of the Uniform Commercial Code. This new security agreement package affords anyone the opportunity to fortify his or her position as never before by reposing all property in an airtight package impervious to legal or commercial attack, including that of the IRS. The best time for handling trouble is before it arrives, and this package affords such opportunity. The most dramatic aspect of the third edition is the facility for obtaining non-judicial judgment against any legal attacker who would insist upon your private property trade name for financial gain without your authorization, be he or she a judge, prosecutor, IRS agent, attorney, traffic cop, government agent, anyone. Heretofore, such have used your trade name to pad their own bank accounts. This no longer need be the case, as each such character will face financial ruin in short order should he or she insist upon using your copyrighted property without your permission after having been noticed. The non-judicial foreclosure process follows closely thereafter, and no one has a monopoly on it. The code encrypting esquires of the money power have crafted the Uniform Commercial Code and now revised Article 9 for the high-speed transfer of wealth, yours, into Big Brother's coffers without the nuisance of consulting the courts. For this very reason, and because the code is now cracked, regular folks can use the same procedure for thwarting would-be legal marauders and can reverse the wealth transferal flow against anyone who foolishly believes he can take private property without just compensation. That's right, that's the Fifth Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Sixth. You need not toil under the threat of paper terrorism of the legal system any longer. With what is available here, you can, with certainty and confidence, regain control of your life and protect yourself, your family, and your property from the rapacious Moloch that is government, and separate any would-be bandit in the employ thereof from his wealth and property if he insists on proceeding without compensating you. Helping you accomplish these things by unraveling the mystery exposes the key elements in guiding you through is the aim of this manual, hoping your journey is a pleasant one. With admiration, the authors. Rapacious, excessive greedy or covetousness. Living on prey. Moloch, a Semitic deity mentioned in the Bible whose worship was marked by the sacrifice by burning of children offered by their own parents, anything conceived as recusing frightful sacrifice. And that's it.